Hello. Already it's the 30th Sunday in Ordinary Time. November coming soon. But of course, this is the last Sunday in October. Our first reading is from Exodus chapter 22, verses 20 to 26. Yahweh was mindful of the oppression of the Israelites in Egypt. He was compassionate for them, and so released them from their captivity. In line with this Sunday's first reading, Leviticus chapter 19, verses 32 to 34 also says, "When an alien resides with you in your land, do not molest him. You shall treat the alien who resides with you no differently than the natives born among you. Have the same love for him as you have for yourself. For you too were once aliens in the land of Egypt. I, the Lord, am your God." I always like that statement. It's by my authority as your God that I say this, and I want you to listen to it and obey it. God treats with compassion all peoples and wants us to do the same. God finds it reprehensible to take advantage of others when we have the opportunity by doing them harm. Then on to the third reading, Matthew chapter 22, verse 34 to 40. In Matthew 37, right in the middle of the third reading, Jesus replies to his questioner, "You shall love you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the greatest and the first commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. The whole law and the prophets depend on these commandments, 2 commandments." On reading this, I have always asked myself, if you truly love God with absolutely everything you would have nothing left with which to love yourself or your neighbor. In turn, I have thought that if you truly love God, then you must love his will for you. His will for us is that we love everyone he loves. In 1 John chapter 4, verses 20 and 21, it says, "If anyone says, 'I love God,' but hates his brother, he is a liar. For whoever does not love a brother whom he has seen cannot love God whom he has not seen. This is the commandment that we have from him. Whoever loves God must also love his brother." And then also in 1 John chapter 3, verses 15 to 18, "Everyone who hates his brother is a murderer, and you know that no murderer has eternal life remaining in him. The way we come to know love was that he laid down his life for us. So we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers. If someone who has worldly means sees a brother in need and refuses him compassion, how can the love of God remain in him? Children, let us love not only in word or deed or speech, but also in deed and in truth." Then on to the second reading, Paul's first letter to the Thessalonians, which, as I understand, is really the first epistle he wrote. Chapter 1, verse 5c to 10. As it said in the quote just before, "As the Lord laid down his life for us, so we ought to lay down our lives for others." In this reading, second reading, it calls us to be imitators of Jesus, and so to be a model for all believers. As in the lives of the Thessalonian Christians, something of Jesus himself was seen. Paul and Jesus are calling upon us to love as we have been loved, so that every place our faith in God goes forth like seeds to sow faith in others. As with those to whom Paul wrote this letter, we are to turn away from the allurements of this world, to serve the living and true God, and to await his Son, Jesus, who delivers us from the coming wrath. Jesus says in John chapter 13, verses 34 to 35. I give you a new commandment, love one another. As I have loved you, so you also should love one another. This is how all will know that you are my disciples. You have love for one another. Dear Lord, may we take in that love so we can bring it to others. God bless you all.